this is a fashion Sway JNJ again, but today is a really the wonderful moment. We have two powerful guests in the house, so let's check out who they are. And can we know who you are?
Pete Garcia.
Pete Garcia. It's a Spanish name.
That is right. I'm from Mexico
Do
originally.
you have a Chinese name?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But I think I'm like the year of the dog or something like that.
Oh, okay. That's a good year.
All
Okay.
right.
And
Nice.
also we have another guest. So can you tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Frank Mulcahy from Sugarland, and I'm in the identity theft prevention space. Travel internationally doing prevention workshops to help to save people from the ever-growing threat of cybersecurity.
Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really big right now.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
big.
Yeah, it sure is.
So actually tonight I know you guys are doing have a bigger event here, and so that's the reason why we are here. So also we want our audience to know what you guys do. So would you like to share?
Well,
your-
I'm with the U.S.-Mexico Chamber of Commerce, and we bring people together in a variety of businesses. And there are you have people here that have money to loan. You have people that are in the banking industry. You have people that are in the real estate industry. You have airlines here. But my friend Frank and I work together talking to people about the value of protecting their digital DNA. And every day, I mean, you saw a couple of days ago, one of the major banks just had millions and millions of people's identities stolen from them. I just got a letter day before yesterday from my clinic telling me that all of my data had been stolen.
Oh.
And it's like, how do you protect yourselves? And they're really, this is a growing issue and concern that people in the fashion industry, in any industry, in their families, their children, with the access to computers today that the children have, they don't know that they expose their children, their families, to potential theft. And I'll let Frank talk a little bit more. He is the expert on this. Frank has been giving presentations. We do it to corporations, we do it to nonprofits, to schools, to governments, to companies about what you need to do to protect yourself, and really how big of an issue is it? Because in the past, most people thought, oh, they're just attacking the big companies. But no, they're attacking nonprofits, they're attacking the small, medium-sized businesses, and even families.
Oh wow, that's actually something exactly I want to know. So would you like to
Yeah.
share with us?
Frank?
Well, I'd be happy to. For the last 15 years, I've been traveling around the world talking about identity theft prevention, the who, the where, the why, the what, the when, how they do it, why they do it. And if people stop and think about what's happened, to give you statistics, back in 2005, there was a company called Privacy Rights Clearinghouse. And this is where, when an American company has a breach, they're supposed to socially be responsible and report it. And in 2008, there were roughly about 135 million identities compromised that year. Right now, the running total is over 1.6 billion breaches have happened, records have been breached. And that's just of the companies that were socially responsible enough to report it.
Right.
So we wonder, what is the real number? Is it 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion records? But the scary part is that I have watched identity theft go from credit. I mean, I had somebody in Arkansas at one of my workshops said, my credit's so bad, I hope somebody takes it. Well, it's not about your credit. It's about your digital DNA. It's about who you are. It's everything from your passports to your driver's license to your security licenses to your professional licenses to, ever so important today, social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. What happens when somebody takes your identity?
Right.
You talk about fashion. Well, fashion, somebody else can mimic what you wear. But I don't want somebody to mimic who I am.
Yeah.
And alter my medical records, alter my security clearances, alter my passport, or heaven forbid, my finances, and I get wiped out.
Criminal record.
Criminal
They can
records.
put their criminal record on me.
So what's happened is that as bad as identity theft is, what I find as I travel around the globe is that most people think, well, it's just a breach and it's going to happen to all of us. No, when it happens to you, you feel so violated. You feel like, if you ever had your home broken into and you went home and saw all your belongings strewn out there, imagine your entire identity is out there. And then we're going to be judged by the community. So even after we clean up the mess, there's still going to be the doubting Thomases that say, well, maybe she really did, or maybe he really did.
Right.
And so what we try to do is to urge people to be responsible, think total responsibility, certainly teach the younger generation.
No, real.
And there are ways to protect it, right, Frank?
There's a lot of ways to protect it, but it all starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do through a series of lunch and learns, work development days, staff development days, webinars. I'm doing a webinar tomorrow in Dubai from Sugarland to a company that I met when Pete and I were over there back in March. But we want to just heighten the awareness that it is going to happen to all of us, and it's not a matter of if, it's not a matter of when, it's a matter of how many times.
Right. And I wanted to say, first off, I respect you guys, so much for what you do, because we're living in a world right now where, in 2008 you saw, Google, Facebook, a lot of the major entities out there, the Apple smartphone was created, and now everybody is carrying a computer around them with them in their pocket. And nowadays with technology, it is full steam ahead. A lot of people are referring to what we've entered into. Some people don't think we've entered into it yet. Think it's another 2 to 5 years. The whole fourth industrial revolution type thing. So technology is full steam ahead. So
who's holding that technology?
Right.
It's not just the parents anymore.
Right.
You're seeing the 8-year-olds with the same
exactly.
thing with the apps, and you know what? Daddy was the one who signed them up on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
he's
by
the
the
one
time they're adults, the algorithms, they know everything about what they'll need before they even. So how is that? I'm curious. How do we protect that in this day and age?
It's through total awareness of, number one, understand what the technology can do, understand how the technology operates, understand who has control to the access points that you have within the technology. Certainly we have to look at the younger generation. They were brought up on digital media, and they have no idea that the boogeyman really does exist.
Yeah.
I was in a workshop earlier today, and the Russians have been hacking into a lot of breaches here in the United States through printers that are installed in homes and in offices.
Wow.
Because nobody ever took the initiative to change the default password when they opened the box with the printer.
I've never changed mine.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I could change mine.
And so we think about that. And then when we look at the college-age kids and the high school-age kids, the largest segment of identity theft victims is the 18 to 25-year bracket. Now somebody says, well, why is that? It's because when they go to college, they share all their digital devices. Here's my cell phone, here's my tablet, here's my iPhone, here's my password. And we wonder why they become victims.
Yeah.
And so if we're aware of who, where, why, how it happens, then we can be proactive from it happening to us.
Yeah.
And then after that, you just need to make sure that as a company, and I'll close with this, most companies don't realize that there are state and federal laws out there that say that they have a responsibility by law to protect the data that they hold. And most companies are not abiding by that and putting themselves in a proactive rather than a reactive situation. So again,
They're required to train their employees.
they're required to, and so what we try to do, and we do a lot of nonprofit work and complimentary work for businesses because, fortunately we're blessed at the age in our lives now that we can give back. And so I urge people, subscribe to our YouTube channel, go in there and get a lot of the lessons that I put out there. They're totally free. And it makes people aware of how they can get their little community, their tribe, their association, their corporation, and combat this thing, because together we can deter, detect, and defend against this
All right, I
ongoing
have a
threat.
little quick question
that.
because And first of all, how do people get help from you guys? Because this job is very meaningful. And like I have a friend, and because I'm a Chinese, and so when I have a friend when she's attended, like she's back to China. So the customer just called her, said, you password. People use your password, and it's just like you blocked. You cannot go back to China because of the criminal. Right. And so somebody entered China, that person has 5 passwords, which means his information probably somebody stole it. Right. For this kind of overseas, this kind of situation, how can they get help from you guys?
It doesn't matter. There are no territorial boundaries when it comes to the digital space. So the same things that I teach here in Texas are the same exact things I taught in Dubai, and it's the same things we're going to be teaching in Madrid next month, and Bosnia the month after that. Right. Identity thief knows no boundaries. To the thieves, we, no matter where we are, whatever country or nationality we are, we're a series of digits. That's all we are. And so it's up to us wherever we are, we need to be socially responsible and maybe go out and study a little bit. Go to the YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com and just put in Frank Mulcahy and Mulcahy, and I'm loading hundreds of videos out there over the next month or two, just so people, whether they're in China or they're in Texas, can start to protect their tribe, their clan, their family.
So now I have other question. If people like those criminals that started so much about what you do, they will use this kind of way to scam the people. Is that going to be the way happen too?
Yeah, that happens all the time.
So, and I'm going to close because I know that that giving us the signal here. Let me just say this: that when it comes to the social media, and it comes to the emails and the text messages and the robocalls and the phone calls, there's not a legitimate government agency, insurance bureau, or financial institution that's going to ask you to verify something online. It's not going to happen. They're going to use the old-fashioned technology of mailing you a letter, and then you need to do due diligence research and reach out to that company and say, hey, or have a digital expert from your community that you know, like, and trust, that you can call and say, hey, I got this, what do I do? Or I got this, what should I do? Because the last thing you want to do, at my age, I can't get wiped out and start over again. A young person starting out can't go out and lose all their credentials so they can't go to the job. A teacher can't go out there because all of a sudden she didn't give a student a passing grade, or the coach didn't play the kid a wide receiver, so they start to use the digital format against us. Impersonation, theft of services, theft of your proprietary information. And I do a lot of work in the Me Too movement now, and disruptive workplaces. And there's so many people that are being wrongly accused of stuff, and with technology it's so easy to destroy somebody. You could take a fashion business that has 30 years reputation, but one person could come and take your identity, and now your whole fashion empire is crushed.
Thanks for always mentioning the fashion words. But we think about fashion is not just to talk about a trade and the wrong way, but also we pass knowledges to people.
So here's how the crooks use fashion.
Thank you.
Here's how
I
they
wanted
do.
to ask you, I spent 20 years in law enforcement, so I handled a lot of those individuals. And I wanted to, how bad is cloning? Because electronics have gotten so sophisticated.
How bad is
cloning of devices? Because they can walk past somebody with a cloning device and just take it right off.
So they gotta be within 18 inches. And it works with just like when we go through the toll, and it scans down, says okay, $1.50, you went through this. Well, when we have our passports in our pocket at the airport, or we have our credit cards because we have the chips in them now, there are readers that people can actually beam in on, and everybody thinks, well, I only got to be 12 inches away. No, I've actually seen tests with cybersecurity people where they had people down here on the ground floor, and on 4 floors up, they have somebody with a scanner, with a microphone scanner, and actually taking the credit card information right from the people
From
4
four
floors down.
stories above.
So
Wow.
yes, it can be, and they have little pockets today. You got to check because some work and some don't, and there's some wallets that block the RFID chip. But if you don't have that, take good old-fashioned aluminum foil and wrap them in aluminum foil. If you're going to the airport,
You're traveling internationally or domestically, wrap those credit cards in aluminum
take your
foil.
passport, because a lot of people don't realize there's a chip
There's
in
a
the
chip.
passport.
Oh, really?
I know.
Yeah, and imagine somebody steals your passport,
Yeah.
and like when we go to Spain next month, and all of a sudden we don't have our passport
Yeah.
because somebody else used it. Because all they got to do is take a scanner, and and in some of the workshops on my YouTube channel, we have stuff about the dark web and how you could actually go into the dark web. Very easy to access. You go to Google, you ask how to access the dark web, you download the Tor browser, and then you're in the dark web. But you can go in there and buy everything: counterfeit, drugs, paraphernalia,
Passports.
ammo, passports.
Right.
You can even buy real driver's licenses that have been stolen from Maryland, New Jersey, Massachusetts for about 35, 40 cents a piece. And because they got the holograms and the barcodes, all they need is your picture, which they get off your social media.
Right.
And then they take your information, which they get from Capital One breach or Marriott breach or Equifax breach or in my case, the Army has lost my data 4 times in the last 5 years. And so it's just a matter of buying the information and then going out and impersonating somebody.
All
Yeah,
right.
you've got collections agencies calling 6-year-olds and saying you owe us $30,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
6-year-olds.
Yeah, I've got a
You have another question?
Yeah.
Just a comment.
I'm gonna interview you.
Yeah, so I've got a client in Arizona. Her name is Caitlin. She's only 17 years old. And when the stepdad left the home, she was 3. And of course, he had her information. And by the time she's 17, she's $750,000 in debt.
Wow.
He bought a Jaguar. He bought 2 houses, refinanced them 3 times, and 42 credit cards. And of course, she didn't find out because she doesn't have a credit report
Yeah.
until she's 18.
Stored
Yeah.
information, right?
Yeah,
when
so
she
what
was
they do
3.
is they take your child's social security number
Yeah.
and they use it with a different name and a different address, but they use that number, and then by the time your child turns 18 and wants to go to college to fill out the financial aid forms, they find out that they've been destroyed. And it lessens their
Financially
opportunity.
destroyed.
Yeah.
It lessens their opportunity to get the funding to go to college.
And then it's really hard to get it cleaned up.
Wow, that's a great information been learned from
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
interview.
So again, if somebody wants more information,
I want to
go-
listen for another 10
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. Well, if somebody,
Well,
you
we
know,
do it for free. We
you
go
know,
out and give presentations.
Right.
and this goes back to what you were talking about earlier. Is what should people do? Once you start to understand the who, the where, the why, the what, the when, how they do it, why they do it, you can start to develop this new culture, what I call the culture of security, where the more aware we are that the ever-growing threat is there, the more we can protect ourselves and our family and our neighbors and our co-workers
Right.
against it. So it's about developing a
Right.
culture.
We cannot rely on the way we lived before and the safety that we felt before.
Right.
Today, it is just too easy to have your DNA stolen from
Right.
you.
And in
Right.
fashion, if I want to take Pete's identity, then I'll just look at what he wears. I'll get the same kind of clothes. And this is a true story. This gal was a vice president with Wells Fargo in Denver, Colorado, and she got arrested because she was cashing checks. Well, it wasn't her, but the video footage from the banks actually looked like her because
Dressed
the
like
crook actually dressed like her, took
Really?
her fashion, including a wig and sunglasses,
Oh, well.
Wow.
and without really close inspection, looking at
Your DNA.
blemishes,
Yeah.
then
I was in Denver.
yeah,
I wasn't a criminal.
yeah.
Good thing.
But again, so protect your assets and,
Yeah.
and reach out to somebody in the community
Right.
that understands.
All right, so would you mind to tell our audience one more time how we reach out over you?
Reach out.
So they can go to YouTube and they can look up Frank Mulcahy, Mulcahy, and they'll see all the videos. Or they can go to my website, which is www.decidetodecide.com.
Decide
That's
to
decide, T-O, decide.com.
Right.
Took it from Winston Churchill.
Right.
He said, once you've made the decision, the rest is
Decide,
easy.
decide.
So I encourage people, make the decision that you're going to become ever vigilant of the growing threat,
Right.
and you will beat the growing threat.
All right. The show, just the time is limited, but definitely we have a lot to learn. So appreciated for this kind of event that
We'll
you
be
hosted.
welcome to come back anytime.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're looking for another one. So would you tell audiences so how we're going to attend another event you guys hosting
Well, we host events every month.
every month?
And you can go onto our website, which
Alright.
is usmcoc.org.
All right.
usmcoc.org.
Alright.
That's for the United States Mexico Chamber of Commerce.
I'm looking for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
to come to
Thank
the
you.
show.
Thank you so
for
much.
the event.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very nice to meet y'all.
All right, Fashion Sway JNJ. I will surprise you.
Mm.
Good.